group. Hello, you're on mute.
I am not on mute anymore. And the proper one is here. We don't need this note taker app. Can remove, don't report.
I guess it's at least the two of us just for 20 minutes
Yes.
because everybody expected to start.
Yeah, Mark will not be here, so I don't know how many people. Maybe we even finish early. But the meeting this morning was very, very useful, I thought. Because I think one of the differences between us, which is a good creative difference, is your focus is on change it, God damn it, that's the point of the system. And mine is, yes, but the introduction has to be easy. So I think it's a very productive difference of perspective.
My hope still is that maybe once the introduction will be clear enough, and it's something I think I mentioned on Slack once or twice, that there are a lot of, there are quite a few ways to customize things already. They are not necessarily easy to do or well documented, but they are there. So again, the hope is that at some point, through discussion, through proper documentation, through demos and whatnot, it will go from, oh, nobody's doing any customization, to you all surprise me with the way you do things that I did not even expect. For now, it's just faith and hope that at some point that will happen.
So, as you know, I've been doing author for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm at the point where I'm getting more user emails asking for this, that, and the other. And it would be great if I could do what you can do and say, yes, that's possible. This is how you do it yourself.
Yep.
So yeah, that's very good. So what I've also been working on really hard, and I did a demo for Dave Millard, was of course an hour-long walkthrough on author.
Yep.
I think because I've never cared about the onboarding process because to me it's been research, but now it's a product, so it's changed. So that's why, for instance, if you go into, actually, I'll show you because it's completely analogous to our own work, to our shared work, rather. So if you now go to author, and first of all, bottom right, I have settings.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I have three things. I have cuttings, and I have a middle bit, and then I have words and settings. Click on settings. If you go to general, which will be the first one people will see, here's a video.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having a look at this introduction to author. Right, and here's a link to view it on YouTube, user guide email. Anyway, point is, our page that we're building now, we need to keep, obviously, I think we should freeze what we're building today as the first quarter, demo page.
Mm-hmm.
And then we should build together, just like you said on Slack, a better onboarding first demo.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with having real fun with that. We talked about all kinds of things. I mean, you can literally write stuff around that room because people are going to leave it anyway. Maybe we can make videos play. I don't know what's available. Really make it that kind of thing. That's really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This camera is so weird. What I'm wearing is green, not brown.
It doesn't look green to me, but at the same time, the trees behind are also very white, so I imagine it's not that white.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. So, yeah, do you want to go through a few things in there, or what do you want to do?
So I'll try to share my screen. I'll put that on mute. Uh, Notifications, do not disturb. And then muting that tab. Yeah, let's see if that works. So sharing screen. Let me know if you can see it, please.
Yeah.
So that's the last version of the page. The very last thing is some ideas, what could be done. For example, I'm not sure how well that page looks on mobile, but I think in terms of demo, it's probably interesting because it's things people are really familiar with. So it would be a good onboarding, maybe. Having the feedback also intertwined with it, so that if people do give some feedback at any step, we can integrate that feedback in there directly, because I think it's motivating for people. Anyway, so there are ideas about that page itself. The first one that actually I was even more literal, I guess, than what you meant earlier. When I said the first with this demo could be more onboarding, I meant like if that's the entire demo cut in a dozen step or whatever, that very, very first step, because here we can open it. So if I do that, I'll have it. And here I'll have the text.
Exactly. Perfect.
So it is there, but for example, here we do two things, which is a bit maybe much, but we use the left wrist to show the command, because if we do look around now, the people are basically stuck in that demo, which is fine. Maybe we can also hide more, like the manuscript doesn't have to be there. Maybe the debug doesn't even have to be there. Maybe it would be only this, basically. And
Perfect.
then if they do, I'm just going to try it. If they do the toggle, they don't, obviously they do it in VR. They don't do it like this, but, and normally, so here, for example, it shows too much, but doesn't matter. It's kind of a preview. Here they see the next demo, and hopefully if they do that and they pinch, it jumps to the next one with, again, the title, bit of
Perfect.
text. But yes, my point was that even this, like this very text and the description, maybe that could be even clearer. Maybe there should be, I don't know, more text or like a bit of context. Why are we even here in the first place? I think we can potentially improve that. I mean,
I agree. We should definitely polish that. For my own, I polish like that all the time, and it's still bad. This is good, but yeah, we should polish. So, first of all, do we want this to be completely self-contained, so we don't need a starting page necessarily? We probably do, right? So we just give someone a
what do you
headset, put
mean?
it on, and they
Yeah,
are told nothing, but it's all here, right?
I think that would be good. I'm not sure if it's feasible, but I think at least as a goal, I think
I,
it's.
well, okay, so let me ask you some questions. This is all with mind having it done by Wednesday, so anything that's slightly worrying, obviously the answer is no.
Mhm.
When you come in there, the first thing people need to learn is the left wrist, just like you have it.
Yeah,
That currently shows a lot. Can you relatively easily constrain it in one of the demos to show a lot less?
what do you mean?
Commands, code snippets.
But here it shows none,
No, but when you press the left wrist,
right? So that's what I was saying, that here it should show probably just this one.
okay.
Uh,
Also, we can do that in the main meeting, but language like, and this is something I've had real problems with my author work as well, is consistency of terminology. You're
mhm.
using the term code snippets and commands. We have to pick one, right?
Yeah. So I would use a command as in, yeah.
I like the code snippet, but I think when you enter the space, if you have some text that says, welcome, what you first need to know is commands are in the form of code snippets that can be executed. Let's put it this way. We're not going to be showing this to idiots. So, to use language just like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Well, there is this at the back that has always been there, like right pinch to move,
Yes.
left pinch to execute.
But it doesn't actually show for what types of things. I'm going to
Yes.
change away from my hoodie into a proper jacket for our meeting. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay, so I removed already quite a bit. I need to hide this too. In the console.
I'm going to go view this from within, okay?
Yeah.
Is this demo link the first link?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's already a lot less stuff. What I would also want is that the title is bigger than the. I have an idea. I'll do a little trick.
So I should now be entering demo Q1, right?
Yeah. And well, it's a bit too late, I guess, for now, but there is a little trick also on that front that if you use the link on the right, open on another device.
Right.
If you use hmd.link, it's in your history, I imagine, then you can more conveniently open that link specifically. So if I click on it here, and if I open my headset, then I will jump in there. I'll stop sharing.
So, should I share?
Sure. Because otherwise you start to describe stuff which I'm not sure if I understand correctly. So when you give feedback in the headset, yes, please do share if you can.
Yeah. I do think today's meeting will be one of our most important. Because it helps put so many things together. Your idea of having these quarterly reviews is very good. Right. Okay, so you can see now, right?
Yes.
So I'm standing up, as we've decided should be the rule. Click on Demo Q1. This is what I see.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird because there's a mirror. I see myself.
Yes.
So I would suggest instructions, right page to move, left. We may get rid of that now.
Indeed.
Secondly, use the left wrist to show commands, look behind. Okay, that can be written better. I agree with you. I think, can I dictate some text to you, see if you agree?
Sure.
You have a sphere on your left wrist.
That's, I'm listening because it sounds like it's going to be very long. And just to give you why
It's not long, very long.
Okay. People, I'm probably by default, I only bring the Quest 3 because I worry that people get hyped by the Vision Pro rather than the work.
Oh yeah, I completely share that concern.
So it means short text really helps.
Okay, first of all, yeah, so remove instructions, right page to move. Everything I'm saying is only suggestions, but it's easier to say it like that, right? Okay. Curated demos for Q1, get rid of that too.
So that's the title.
Yes,
So I'd rather change with a better title.
we don't need a title. Let me just suggest the sentence then.
Yeah.
You have a sphere on your left wrist. Touch it to view code snippets, or rather, or snippets of code, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then, because you say, look behind and press next demo, of course, that is not complete now because we have removed instructions right and left. So you would have to add that here. You know what? I'm going to type things for you and see how it feels. How can I do that in here? No, I'll go out of this for a minute. It's so easy to go back in now. I did also bring this if you want to test with the Apple one.
Doing what? Ah, Peter is here.
Ah, fantastic.
Good morning from brunch.
Morning.
Bon appétit.
Okay, so Peter, what we're doing is we're playing around with what to show. Hang on, I'll explain. There's Carl, excellent. I'm just adding a thread here. One second, and I'll update you what we're doing. Hang on. Okay, how is everyone?
Very good. It's a gloomy St. Patrick's Day here.
Oh yeah, you have St. Patrick's Day in America. That's right. That's right. Okay, so yeah, so Fabien has done the amazing thing of making the demo sequential in discussion with what Mark Anderson suggested. So if you have a headset available today, that would be really good. We can go through it. Fabien and everybody, on the FT Lab Slack main, I have added a thing called suggestions for demo one text. So what I've written there is what I suggest the user sees on entering first. I don't know what you guys think about that wording. Today is all about polishing this for the user that Fabien is seeing on Wednesday. I'm seeing someone tomorrow, but it is also to be archived as Q1 of our efforts. So that's why it's good to really get it clean. Carl is looking very thoughtful.
Oh, I'm just reading stuff.
I'm not so thoughtful in the sense that it's still taking shortcuts, even though it's longer than what I wrote. In the sense that tap. I don't know how people will do this, but I expect like they touch with the whole hand. Maybe they touch somehow. I don't know, but they were not. I bet they were not going to use the index, the tip of the index finger to touch it. Which even like for us it's obvious, but I'm not so sure.
That's brilliant. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. I'm wondering also at what point, or if it's we can be really explicit for the very, very first step.
Sure.
And that might mean, for example, having a drawing of a hand and then an index finger touching the wrist. As a kind of like really first step onboarding, because I think once there are a couple of quirks. Like for example, you need to pinch the the first letter basically, and I know that people basically usually take it from anywhere, like middle of the text and whatnot, whereas in truth it has to be like the very first letter. There are a couple of things like this, so I'm maybe sketching something or drawing something, I mean, for this, like the very first step of the onboarding. But yeah, also we're not sending this to strangers. I'll be physically there, you'll be physically there. So at what point is it overkill?
So I forgot that you guys can see my screen, but this page, this is the landing page for it, so to speak. So we were going to clean that up. And here are notes of what we need to add. But in the introduction text, it will explain it even clearer.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a purposeful duplication of efforts. And as you said, we will be there. So anything, should we edit this further, or is this okay for the very, very first?
That's rich text, by the way. We can only have plain text for the instructions.
No, it's not that rich. You can just add a option, not just option 8. You don't need to make it formatted or indented or anything, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, fair enough. What is the actual text on that code snippet? JXR, right?
Yes, the prefix to say it's code, basically.
Right, JX are, what is it, demo brackets?
No, so space, demo, and then next with a capital N or uppercase N, and then parenthesis. It's calling the function named demo next, which
Yeah.
then checks where you are in the list and then brings you to the next demo.
Okay, headset on standby.
Fantastic. Carl, you want a headset as well? Rob, are you there? You want a headset as well? Do you agree with this text, Fabien, to try it?
To try it, yes. So I'm going to basically see if I can easily switch the current one with this one because it's in JSON, so it's in code, so it's not
Hi,
complicated.
Brandel. So what we're doing today is Fabien's first quarter presentation, archiving State of the Union type thing. He's doing a demo on Wednesday. I'm doing one tomorrow. So we're cleaning up a little bit this page with descriptions and links to subsets of the demo. He's also made a demo, excuse me if I scroll again, that is demo Q1, which inside you will have more explicit instructions. So this is the text we're looking at now. It's in Slack to show the user for the very beginning. We're just trying to make it clean, 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 and layered today. Oh, Mark posted this. I should read it at some point. Just download it. Ta-da. Great. Okay. So yeah, when I'm not sure if this is linked to yet for you guys to go in. Yeah, here you go. When you go to the website in the headset, go to, let me show you again. Scroll down to authorship in XR. And then scroll down to first quarter presentations preview. That is the active link. Sorry. Once you go in there, that's the page we're working on. And here is the active link. Brandel, have you seen the Metallica video yet? Brandel? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was checking something that was coming in. What were you saying?
I was wondering if you've seen the Metallica video, the Vision one.
Oh no, I haven't. I've seen some fairly mixed reviews of it. Can't Buy was kind of pretty put off by it. I'm curious about your level of motion sickness.
I think it's absolutely the best thing Apple has done with the headset so far.
Oh wow, okay. Well, that's positive. It's really positive.
Yeah, I mean, I started banging the table and almost crying, but then, you know, I'm a little bit of a fan of the band.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, that's an important data point too.
It's a little bit important. Emily saw it. She loved it. Edgar saw about half of it. He thought it was really cool. Yeah, there are some things that are a bit off, like with the drummer, the actual drum is too close on this side, he's here. So, but those are details compared to the other ones.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I will. Yeah. You know, the flag went up at work that it had come out publicly and that everybody should give it a try. So I will.
Highly
And there's also
recommend the headphones.
yes. Well, I use AirPods the whole time with it as well. In general, there's also a deep water dive that I haven't seen yet. I'm not sure exactly when that came out.
Yeah, there is climbing also. There's a few really, really good ones. But I think this one is unique in, it seems there's been a lot of learning, like the rodeo one. I think, and the football, there was a lot of unnecessary movement that was a bit nauseous and you were too close to people and it was off.
Right.
The Metallica seems more thought through. It's like they have more maturity in how to deal with the medium.
That's really positive. Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out.
So you can see my view, right, guys?
Uh-huh.
So first of all, what you've done here, Fabien, with the heading being a bit further forward is really cool. What do you all think? Yeah, you all think it's amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean it is a lot harder to read that it is further forward. Yeah, that sort of a horizontal strafe. Yeah, like you're doing there, is what's necessary. Otherwise, it just looks like it's bigger. So having a strafe rather than a turn is something that helps us to be able to see that it's further forward.
Oh yeah, if you want to, you can go in and see it live as well now.
Oh yeah,
And so,
Hey, I'm in the headset at the futuretextlab.info page. Where do I go to get into the current demo?
scroll down to authorship in XR.
Okay. We're there.
Then you scroll. Hang on. Then you scroll down to underneath the video and stuff. There will be something that says something about first quarter or something.
First quarter presentations preview.
Yeah, click on that.
Okay.
And then, the top is messy because we're working on it. Scroll a little down to full experience, the one right above experience sections. Click on that.
Okay. Drag file to upload. Curate demos for quarter one.
Yeah,
Okay. Jump into VR then.
yeah. Do you all agree with the writing, or should we edit it?
So I think people need a bit of more context, especially who just joined that.
Oh yes, of course.
But my gut feeling though, so the idea is to present to people who don't know what we do, but who are educated, who are at least open-minded enough to try XR, and who would be fine with even just considering text in XR, basically. That being said, like when I see this amount of text, if I were to be in the shoes of somebody who were like, oh, here is a cool demo, I would like, oh, sorry for the swearing, but oh shit, I need to actually read long instructions. And my enthusiasm would drop quite a bit, I think.
Okay, I'm inside and the writing with the curated demos is up above my head. Until I tipped my head way back, I couldn't even see it.
Yeah, so here's the thing that the demo is now standing, not seated.
Ah, that would explain it then.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Now, I don't know if you saw, Fabien, when I went to the next demo, it kind of crashed and I had
Yes.
to go out and come back in again, but it did actually work.
So maybe Brendel actually knows for this. Because on the Quest 3, you can open a URL, and if it's on the same domain, you're going to open it without leaving VR. And I guess on Safari, you cannot.
yeah, that's right.
So that's why I told you, thanks, Brendel, for confirming. That's why I told you, Frode, that the Quest 3 was the target platform, not to show that people get distracted by the hardware rather than
Oh,
the
yeah,
work.
yeah.
But it also means that sadly the crash is normal.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That's absolutely what we decided. So, are we all happy with the text on the first experience? That's the first question we need to answer. And then, because then now I'm in the second one. Everybody says yes. Excellent. Okay. So in the second one, Fabien, you want to highlight the wrist taps, right?
Yes.
So to show hide cube, that doesn't.
It's not there. You can see. In fact, I think that's a good. That's actually a cool example to show the usefulness of the console, but maybe that's a bit too tricky.
What do you
Because
mean?
I do want to highlight that it is code and that people, when they see those things, they can edit them and all this.
So, okay, just returning to normal view for a second. So the thing with the table, I think that should be in experience too. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, we can switch quite conveniently. We actually need to think in terms of what are the key steps we need people to be able to conduct, and yeah, is it maybe it's even before executing text or code? Maybe it's even switching to the next demo. I'm not sure. It's that's the point of having them in sequence in order is like what's the order that is honestly a bit of not necessarily hand holding, but not like only good surprises basically. If they have to go through hoops and it feels empowering, I think it's good. If it's like, oh, here is a wall of text before I go to the next one, I think that's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. So in order to deal with that, I put a link in, guys, to the page we're looking at, futuretechlive.info first quarter. What we should probably do first is exactly what Fabien said, because all this right now, it's all about presentation today. Fabien has done amazing work. Now we have to make sure it's presented well. That's our entire topic. So the first thing is exactly that. How are we going to sequence the demo? This is a demo where there will be a human standing by. So we don't have to explain every single word in XR, but it should be mostly self-explanatory, right? Carl, could you speak what that issue is, please?
I load up the link in the headset and I can see both of the wrist like interaction primitives, and they don't respond to touches.
What headset are you using?
Quest 3.
Okay, I have my controllers too close to me, and I see my controllers, and I also see a disembodied set of hands that aren't responding to anything.
You should not be using the controllers. It's hands only, Peter.
I mean, it also worked with controllers, but not for that demo. For the wrist, how did you, when you said touches, can you show us, Carl, how you touched your wrist? Yeah. Can you share the screen or do like a screen copy and share? Because
How do I do that on this?
but to be honest, also, so it should work. It's very strange. Do we though want to go down that path, knowing that Carl is not going to give a demo tomorrow, Wednesday? I mean, he can, of course. He's welcome to, but I don't think that was his plan.
I would vote on that to say that if it works for Fabien and me right now, since we're the ones doing the demo, ignore everyone else. Sorry, Carl. And then, but then afterwards, of course, then it's bug fixing. Yeah. So I'm glad you agree, even though that's pretty harsh. Sorry. Right. Okay. Let's look at this web page, and I would really like it if we use the web page as the script, because then it's easy for Fabien to implement if he agrees. It's also very easy for us to discuss it because we can see it, right? So I'm just adding a basic page, welcome page. One second, I'm just going to put some dummy text, and then I was a bit ahead of myself there, I apologize. Okay, please reload now, and then let's figure this out together. Right, okay, so what I have now, I don't know if you need to reload or not, is under full experience sections, which is exactly the same as full experience, but It's where it's written out, right? Welcome page that we just did. And then we have upload document via desktop. Maybe that should be before, Fabien, since they do that before they're in. That's, or where should that fit? What do you guys think? Maybe that should be last, like telling them, by the way, these are real documents.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely up to us. That's the point. That we can decide if we think people want to use their document, and it's a gentle introduction, we put it first. If we think they trust us enough that as long as we say a document will work, we put it last. It's
Okay, reload, please. So what I've done is, for safety, the second one is the physical table in VR. And that's something that we worked on today. It works quite well. What do you think, Fabien?
I think it works quite well because you're used to it also. That's kind of a tricky part. Thanks for the drawing call. We might also try something like this to be displayed also next to the text if need be. That being said, again, as I was saying before, that if we put a ton of instruction like drawing and lengthy text and whatnot, I guess it depends on the audience. Some people are happy to try to figure it out, especially knowing that they will manage because they have one of us next to them. And they might even feel not comfortable with too much instruction because they hear our voice plus this. So I'm not sure what's best. Maybe also, like, again, if people are really into having fun, they might like, yeah, just figure it out. Your wrist, do stuff. I'm not sure.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
What we need to do now is, for now, forget everything that happens in reality in the headset. Now we're going to get a script. So on this web page, we're going to get the sequence right. And then we're going to remember, it doesn't matter if we make a million mistakes explaining because we will be there. It's just a matter of saying if we can get something decent down, right? So what I think I should do for each one of them is to write down the interaction if people choose to read this before they go in, right? So for instance, physical table in VR, grab the center of the yellow rectangle and drag it down to the front corner, front edge of your desk. It should then become gray and it turns into, when it's in space now, Fabien, it's still a rectangle, but when you drop it, it becomes basically a pole, right?
It becomes physically what?
If I remember correctly, when you go in and there's this yellow thing indicating a table in space, it's first of all it's yellow, but it is a rectangle, right?
Yes.
And when you touch the front edge of your desk with it and let go, it becomes a pole. It's no longer deep, it's just a pole.
It should have the same shape. It's only the position that changes and the color.
We changed that this morning. It's just a pole now.
The entire time.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. So grab the center of the yellow pole and drag it down to the front edge of your desk. It should then become gray and indicate where this physical boundary is. I think it's really important to have that as an early one. I'm going now to interact with that in the headset. If someone else wants to as well, that would be great. If you click on the link on that web page, hi Rob, you should be able to get straight to it. Oops.
And were you saying it should be the second demo after switching from like the welcoming state to the the very first, to the second demo, let's say.
That is my feeling, yes, because to
So
have
I'll put it, and then we can try to see how it
okay.
does feel.
The notion is just it deals with the physical reality of where you're sitting. Okay, so okay, let me just reload this. You can all see my screen, right? Okay, so here we go. Physical table in VR, table test. Okay, so this is so cool. So there's now this yellow bar that's really annoying. So you're therefore primed to want to move it. So you grab it, and then you feel for your table and the front edge, and you let go. And now I know where the table is. Isn't that brilliant? It just makes the whole experience less scary. I can see you a little bit now. Of course you can.
Oh, yeah, I can see down there.
Yeah, of course you can. I can have a seat.
Okay, I have to do 2 pages.
Cool. Since I can't see you guys, what do you think? Cool bar, right?
If you also if you can take a screenshot easily and then share it after, that would help populate the example page.
I can, but then I have to stop sharing. For some reason, it won't let me do both, and that's fine.
Ooh, I tried the AR button, and I'm stuck with the room sort of in miniature, locked to my head and moving around, and I'm not actually in an immersive, and I'm not in a working AR either. It's in this weird limbo. It's sort of like I have a poster of the room glued to my face.
I want to blame this entirely on someone else. I think it's either the operating system or the browser, one of both, because sometimes you get like the last frame, which is mixed reality, kind of like drags on, which really doesn't feel good. But as far as I can tell, it's not my fault.
Yeah, I gotta power down the headset or I'm gonna wind up nauseous.
Yes, it's definitely
But
shouldn't be my fault.
you can probably press the main button in order to jump back out on a quest in an AR session. That
Sometimes
sounds like the.
presses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This has do you know if Rick knows?
Hey, man.
Probably.
I'll be seeing him tomorrow, so I can tell him.
I didn't like share some specific logs, but yeah, it happens regularly.
Right. It's the WebXR face-to-face tomorrow, so we'll be going to Google and Samsung and Meta, and everybody will be talking about their favorite APIs.
Okay, I made it out. I'm recovering my equilibrium.
You're back on your feet, Peter?
Yeah.
Just a quick note on this. When you get a fixed frame and despite moving your physical head, it doesn't move, I really recommend you peek through your nose because it's very disorientating.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. Okay, getting a sip of tea. That'll help me
It sucks when reality crashes.
It does.
This is true. Okay. So in this bar room, there is also a manuscript. I don't think it should be there. I think it's too much at once. What do you think?
Yes, I think anytime it can be more gradual, it's better. So I will. We're talking about removing the manuscript from the table test.
Yeah.
That's easy.
It's called physical table. It's not really the table though. Physical order. Yeah, physical table.
So now it should not show the manuscript. Probably still shows a bunch of commands though, but
If I can beg everybody to please reload that page and tell me what you think about the text for physical table in VR, if you love it or if you hate it.
Oh, also, I should report another anomaly. When I was looking at the manuscript, it was like there was a small reflection of it in my vision, about maybe like a half inch tall, almost as if it was like reflecting in a pair of real world glasses, which was really strange. So I saw the manuscript panel in front of me, and then sort of off below it to the left slightly, there was a little miniature representation of it. Again, like maybe a half inch, a physical inch in size.
do you wear glasses while wearing the headset?
Yeah, I do wear glasses while wearing the headset, but I never experienced anything like that before. And nothing else was reflecting like that. It was just the little manuscript thing, as if there was an echo of it.
Yeah, it's tricky for me to say.
Nothing else in
The
the
thing
room.
is, because you have a big contrast and the rest of the environment is quite minimalist. Maybe it's that, but it's hard for me to say.
So what do you think of that entry? I need your guidance, peoples.
What's the question?
The question is, if you go on that website and if you go down to under experience sections, physical table in VR, what do you think of that entry? Does that mean everybody thinks it's amazing?
I mean, it's legible. I understand what it's communicating. Is there another question?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first level. Second level is, could it be done in a cleaner or better way? Today is all about making Fabien's brilliant work look good. So this is just supportive to that. So please feel free to smash my writing style or whatever else might be appropriate.
I mean, the writing seemed fine. One of the things that is, tricky, like Troika does a lot of work for us in terms of being able to get legible text into it. But one of the things that it doesn't do is give you full rich text in order to be able to tweak things like line height and sort of smaller type size variations and things like that.
That's
So,
true.
one of the things that would be really useful here is to provide a little bit more guidance as to the function of each of the lines of text. Um, so possibly a new line after, so, absent having the ability to do that, maybe putting a new line after that second uh, bullet point. So after execute with your left hand to put a new, to go new line and then to have a paragraph break between that and to go to the next step in the demo. Uh, and I mean that line is just a little long, so it's triggering the foveated rendering, so that when I'm staring at the left side of it, then the right side is obscure, is jaggy, which is good because it means that we're successfully leveraging foveation. But it's just it wouldn't necessarily be noticeable if we did that. Um, um, so yeah, like if you had the ability to do that, that would be good. It's really useful that it has the black outline in order to make sure that there's that guaranteed minimum legibility. There is it would be even easier if it was just on a flat color because then you wouldn't be triggering quite as much kind of value contrast in it. So if you wanted to allow it to be more conservative, then you could mat it onto a flat color. These kinds of things you could potentially paginate if you wanted to make it easier for people to follow. But I'll reload and see where we're at now. I was also suffering from the same thing with an inability to actually continue with the with my wrist tap thing.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
what happened?
that's actually way better already. Thanks, Fabien. I see you put the paragraph break in already. Yeah.
Fabien, a question for you. On this page, I have two sections, full experience and experience sections. I think I will delete the one called full experience because if you only go to the welcome page one, that link automatically puts you through to the others anyway, right?
On the full one.
Hang on, I'll show you screen sharing happening. Okay, we have this bit here. I'll delete that because if you go to this one below, the first one is demo Q1 anyway.
Right. I mean, if we do invest the time as we're doing now for an onboarding, which is step by step, let's stick to that. Even though in practice, I do have, let's say, the viewer. I'll put that in the chat to allow to jump to any specific point of the demo. But yes, I think if rather as we play onboarding, let's trust the process and that people will go through the steps. Maybe at the end you can put the link I shared, or we can put like some if you want to experience directly a specific part of the demo, follow that link and then jump from there. But that would be, let's say, for people who are really into it or they want to share only a section to somebody else.
We have best of both worlds now, actually, because if someone just goes to this one and clicks on the demo Q1, they will, of course, go through all of it. However, all of these ones here are kind of chapters of that, so they can choose to jump in to the middle or not. So it's all good, right? So I'll just reload, sorry. If you now, all of you look at this text here, does that look reasonable for the very first thing on here? Good. We also have a bit of a user guide on top, but we expect people to skip that. So then we have the physical table and VR. That's all fine. Now, this is what I currently have of Fabien's aspects. I think that maybe interacting with the PDF should come next because it's quite impressive. What do you all think? I don't actually have any of that in here, so I need...
So the previous one was the shortcut binding to say, hey, you can use the wrist to go to do whatever, but that itself is programmable. So if you drop one of those code snippet on the wrist, you can do, so that's how you would go to the next demo, for example. Because if we start to teach them, let's say, use the wrist to do this or that, the generalization of it, I think, is also, I mean, I would argue it's the right moment to do this.
Yeah, if there's additional functionality that is triggered either from the same gesture or the same elements, You should teach those in sequence rather than like double back to them later with some disjoint thing in the middle.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not saying I fully disagree, but an alternative perspective is you show people the world as it is, and then afterwards you say, this is how you can modify it. I'm not sure which is less complex for new users.
How about a flowchart or a visual representation instead of text? Text forces you down certain pathways, so if you're going to have branching paths.
So you're saying that that's really clever, Tom. Sorry, that sounds patronizing. I don't mean that. Sorry. Um, so you're saying that, let's say, hang on, let me, and Peter, I see you, just one second. So let's say we've decided that first you got to learn the left wrist, then you got to learn the physical table. Now, when you're in the physical table one, you don't have one, but you have two options for what to see next.
Mm-hmm.
One of them could be interact with the document. The other one below could be a link to, maybe it's more hidden or in bracket says, if you want to learn how to change this, tap here. Is that the, yeah, that makes sense. What do you think, Fabien, on that?
So it's also something we discussed with Mark about having a list of demo, like sequential, A, B, C, D, E, or a graph of demo, where we have one single starting point and we can branch, and every step of the way we can have more branches if people want to dig deeper into RIST or programming or whatnot, which I think it's a better way, but it's too complex for this time. I think it's the chances of being stuck in the tree or the graph somewhere is too high. That it would be nice for the next one, but here it's too risky.
I, I, I think one of the problems that you're running into though is you're dealing with a linear narrative in the form of text that's going down a page, and you're jumping a level from one dimensions to three on top of the process factors as well. And so, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I would think that having a visual representation, a flow chart or something like that, maybe in accompaniment with text to where people can see it, go down this path, and then you have a text blurb underneath it. It's not one or the other. You can add text to a concept mapper or some sort of flow chart that would help people navigate this more spatially rather than, because we're teaching them a spatial environment too. So it's like you're trying to teach someone Spanish while speaking Portuguese at a certain level.
I think, just to jump in on that, absolutely. But now we're talking about what can be done today and tomorrow without messing things up.
So if we have images, like right now I use screenshots, but it could be indeed like a step flow chart that also works. We just need to have them. So,
and it's easy enough. I can certainly, if I had the images, then I could simply, and I understood the process. But I mean, maybe not for Wednesday, but maybe for the next demo.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry if I sound also quite negative, but it's again all those ideas are meaningful and valuable. Only quite a few of them are risk-free enough to be tried, because you have one tomorrow, Frode, I have one Wednesday, and some of the changes will result in bugs and other problems. So that's why it has to be so conservative. That being said, it doesn't mean that the whole point of doing this demo right now is to open up the possibility for better demo, let's say next quarter or even like a week after this, where if it's the week after this and it's just a demo to, let's say, somebody from the group, then it's lower stakes. And then indeed graphs, and even like normally we have tools on how to go from text to graph or flow charts and whatnot. So it's really not that complex or demanding. It's just like right now it's
Yeah, I don't want to throw in a wrench into what you're trying to get done this week. Don't get me wrong. I just think that part of your struggle is just the leap from a linear narrative pathway like text to, which it requires a leap of the imagination that is difficult for some people to follow, and especially since you're creating something in what is fundamentally a visual environment in your XR environment, that may be just, I don't like reading manuals, to be honest. I need to, if I can't figure it out myself, I don't want to have to read how to do it. But yeah, so anything you can do to cushion that curve, right? Or
Yeah,
to flatten that curve.
absolutely, but not for today, of course.
And
Uh,
it's fairly easy to make these things like in Miro or one of the other concept mapping programs very easily, and you could even then share it if you built it in Miro.
oh yeah,
So
no, the making of the map is not the problem. It is that all the links have to work internally, and that can
yeah,
create a bit of a hodgepodge at this point.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so I need to know what to show next, but Peter, please.
Okay. One suggestion. Um, could you have maybe on the introductory documentation page a overhead looking down representation of where the user is going to be and how much space he needs to have for his bounding region in order to not have the warning grid pop up when trying to interact with the next demo control behind him. What happened was I was too close to one of my bookcases, and of course, you can't walk more than a couple of feet without hitting a bookcase in my place. But I entered VR too close to the bookcase. So I was in the experience, everything was just wonderful, and I turned around, and as my hand got to within about 4 inches of the control unit that I was going to try to activate, suddenly the warning grid appeared that I was about to hit my real world bookcase. So if there's just a little note of how many meters square you need to have of clear floor space before you enter the standing demo and where to be standing in that region. And maybe you could even indicate in sort of like a top-down view diagram of the room that your control is going to be behind you here. Here is you facing here. Just sort of like just a top-down plan view of the space you should be in for the demo so that you don't run into any issues of inadvertently stepping outside of the boundary and having everything get shattered by the warning grid that your hand is about to hit a bookcase. Um, my other thought is I really wish there was an affordance of where I should be dragging, where I should be grabbing to drag some of those floating commands. I had no sense of exactly where it should be, even if it was just a bullet or an emoji of a target or just a bloody plain square just to the edge of it so that I say, here's the affordance that I want to be grabbing if I want to move something. Otherwise, you don't know exactly where in the text you should be reaching for to trigger things. So those are my thoughts after trying the demo.
I think that was for you, Fabien. Was there a hand up, Carl?
We can't hear him.
Oh,
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that was a long rant for nothing. Anyway, what was I saying actually? Yes. One thing that actually would help there, because it's often a problem where Frode say, "Oh, my screen is there," and I say my table is there, and we have like all different spaces, and we try to make them close enough that it's reachable for anyone, but not like too close. Anyway, one solution was at the end of year one, like defining a kind of spatial JSON to say, "Hey, you've modified your environment, you save it." So one thing that I'm not sure how to show that this time, but would be to say, look, you want it this way, you want it that way, no problem. Just pick the thing, put them there, save it, and then next time you load it, it's there for you. I think it would alleviate most, not necessarily all, but most of those kind of challenges, Peter. Would that make sense? Like persistence across sessions?
I could actually see a 2D configurator before you enter VR, where you'd have a conventional web page with, again, the top-down sketch, and you could drag the walls and drag where the things are going to appear, and that could cause an update to the JSON that the headset environment is going to use to decide where the walls should be and where the items should appear when you actually enter the immersive experience.
So you could be using the conventional web just to work with the top-down sketch of what your space is going to be like, and then it could use the data values from that to dynamically update the space when you enter the VR.
Peter, we're not going to do that because,
Yeah, I know that's a lot of work. I'm just sort of thinking down the road.
well, even down the road, the idea is that for this, it's not a walking thing. It is literally sit down or stand up. Now, Fabien and I have been doing some measuring because of our different workspaces to at least cover some of the really bad ones. For instance, when I tried to go to the next demo, my hand hit the wall. So there is a certain gamut we have to work within, absolutely. But if you allow the user to specify walls, it gets, yeah.
They just have too many bookcases everywhere, so it makes anything an issue.
Yeah. So on to the very specific work of today, which is this flow chart, so to speak. What we have now is the physical table in VR. And then the next thing is wrists. That's what you suggested, right, Fabien?
Yes.
So your wrist controls can be customized, left and right wrists. Any comments here? I think it's a bit advanced, actually. I would prefer to have it later, but you're driving this, so you can overrule me anytime.
Overruled.
Fair enough.
No, okay. So just to, I want, especially if we do a bit of hand holding at the beginning, I worry that especially for the kind of people we talk to, they're like, oh, this is dumb, kind of, not dumb, but this is really too simple. So I think they need to be a bit of like an emotional roller coaster of like, okay, some of this I need to learn, but some of it opens a lot of possibilities. And I would see this like, oh, I grab a command and then I can use it, or I can write my own command as like combinatorial possibility, and thus exciting again. I don't think it's advanced in the sense that it's conceptually a bit advanced, that you need to know what a shortcut is. But again, for most people, we would demo too, that's fine. But in terms of practice, like you pick a line of code and you drop it on the wrist, I think it's relatively simple. Like if they did manage to go to the next demo, they did go through that hurdle, that next step normally should be fine.
The first part of what you said, I don't have the same perspective on. You're saying it might be a bit boring or something like that. The next steps that you're going to show, how to take the manuscript and drop it onto one of those panels, those things, we are a little bit jaded. It is freaking cool, right? My concern about this is, yes, it is amazing to be able to reconfigure your controls, but when you go into a new space, to lose the ability to memorize what things do, because once, if you reconfigure the left wrist to turn something blue, for instance, now where do you find the code snippet to turn it back to being hide and reveal code snippets, right? It's quite an advanced thing to do. I really think we shouldn't, I really don't want to have my subject in there. Okay, well now I've changed it to something else, and I'll say, what did you change it to? Oh, I can't remember. How do I get it back? Right? That's a layer of
Refresh the
complexity.
page.
Refresh the. But we want them to. Fabien, you have so many amazing things in here we haven't even shown yet. But okay, we leave it as here for now. Anything else to put on it? And I don't have a link yet. I'll put it in when I get it. That doesn't matter. Don't need to waste time. Right. So the next thing is interacting with the PDF, right? Or soon. So should we do that?
Yep.
So can you give us a link for that so we can?
So it's I'll put it back, but normally all that is always live.
So okay, I'll just call it interacting with PDF, right? You and please just dictate some keywords to me. You can what? Move?
I wouldn't say PDF, because I think, again, if we're talking to either academics or people who care about this, it's PDF as a format. They don't honestly care with like a a published document or something like this, and then we can put in parentheses like the format. And it doesn't actually have to be PDF. PDF is just an example because of our audience.
I have a slightly different perspective on that. In academics, they often talk about PDFs. Can you send me that PDF? Not often the Word document.
Sure, if it's a shorthand for them, then yeah.
Because the thing is, Fabien, it's very impressive because PDF is flat and dead. In here, it's not. So I think using a more bad name actually makes your software look better. You know what I mean? Anyway, we can always change the titles, but okay, so now we're talking about you can interact with a document or a knowledge object or whatever. Now we're talking about the thing that has the green border around it, right? Currently.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so why don't you just speak to me and I will write. You can
pick a line of text and release it to
grab
highlight.
it from the middle and move it anywhere you like.
No, it snaps back where it was. So it's like you pluck a line and then it's going to color it.
No, but to move the actual PDF itself, you can move it somewhere more useful, right?
No, I don't think so, at least.
Okay.
Because it's silly, but it's like because you can pick everything else on top of it, you cannot grab it.
No. Fabien, it's entirely reasonable. You have real physical, there you go. You have real technical constraints. No, that's fine. But then we need to decide on a really good place for it, because now it's a bit up to the left, right? So when you're in this experience, you probably want it front and center, don't you think? Shall we look at that?
Maybe same, like if you want everybody's opinion, if you could open the link and share it. Share your perspective.
Oh, you actually gave me the link. Cool. Okay. Which one's that?
So highlight text above, middle. Yeah. And you can do up. Yeah. No, that's the result. It would be link or open in other device.
Oops. Convert to link. Okay. Save. Now we can all go in and it'll be there for us. I'm still sharing screen, right?
Yes.
By the way, Brandel, while doing my demo for Author, I was doing a lot of writing from a book. And the speech to text now, the built-in one in Mac OS is really good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I've been really impressed. I've also realized that I don't know if it does it by default, but if you take voice memos, then the transcript is available as well. So you have it as being the audio first, and you can search through, and there's the text that you can kind of pull out of it. So I'm very excited by that as a bright new horizon to pursue.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I had a problem with logging in here, so it didn't do the optical thing. All right, okay. Yeah, those kind of almost invisible massive improvements. Please tell me you can see, right?
Yes, we can.
Oops. So there we go, highlights. Okay. Oh, so we still have a manuscript and this in the same space. Maybe we shouldn't have both?
Sure. So, and you are on the highlights. Well, I don't know because they were not. Yeah, it depends what we're doing. They are not I don't think it's a problem. First of all, they are not like on top of each other, and they were like we were still trying to help people write a manuscript in the end. So I
Sure.
think that a reminder that those highlights are not there to highlight, but to kind of prompt ideas for an ongoing idea.
Well,
I think it's
considering, I agree with that, and that's fine. We can keep it. It's just considering that the cube was supposed to be the manuscript, but we're not quite there yet. But other
Yes.
people don't know that, so I agree. Let's leave it. Totally not a problem. The placement for me is fine. Standing up, it's actually really, really good, right? Now, how do I pick up a pen?
You pick the tip of the pen.
So I have to touch the tip. Okay. That's the kind of thing we need to. And how do I make it right? Oh, it kind of goes like that.
The tip of the pen needs to touch the page, roughly.
Okay, this is super cool, obviously, but what I would suggest, and I would love to hear what everyone else who's in the space thinks, because you cannot hold the pen here, you have to hold it basically at the tip. Oops. I suggest that maybe for now we make this really small so that it's natural to try to hold here. We don't make it so big. So ideally, I suggest we delete this or make it just tiny. What do you think?
More a short piece of chalk metaphor.
Yeah, really, really short piece of chalk because this one just doesn't, it isn't touchable. Now also, Fabien, I think highlight text and see this, that should go. It's just not necessary unless you want to put this maybe over here or maybe over here, but not in front of this.
I'm curious also, I stay silent because I'm curious to see if others have opinion on the, let's say, sound of the pen, because I would never pick the pen by the back. Like if I write, I hold the,
Like this.
yeah, that's
well,
how a pen is held. No, I don't know. I'm starting to question everything now.
No, but
You-
it's
I mean-
just that I tried to pick, normally when you start to write, you pick the pen up just to have it in the air. So I think this is quite normal to pick it up. Yes, when you write, it's more likely you do that. But because it doesn't, it has no effect, I think
Yeah.
we should, you know,
I mean, it could be movable this way too. It just, I don't, yeah, I wouldn't. Again, let me try. I'll shorten it, and you'll see if, in terms
right.
of how do you say, affordance, it makes
Yeah.
it more obvious.
What is this, by the way?
I don't even remember. It is something useful. It doesn't break anything, I think, but it has meaning. No, I don't think you can interact with it. But it's I don't remember what it is. It's not an eraser. If that's don't even attempt that.
Look what I'm doing. It's actually really cool. Actually really cool. Fabien, maybe you make it yellow so people can use it like a sticky, even though they can't write on it yet. Just like a little thing to put.
Wait. There's one thing other than the highlighter, the size of it. Yeah. So if you want, I just changed the one highlighter, and then that thing is black. I don't remember what that is.
Whatever it is quite cool. Okay, both highlighters. I'll need to reload.
Yeah. And what was the other comment about? Yeah, the position of the title of the demo and the instruction. That's kind of yeah, it's okay.
You have
see?
this.
Yes.
Can someone please write in the chat some keywords for me to remember to write down some out of this for what the description should be?
Because you'll see also if I shorten it, so I'll just remove that part, and then it looks a lot less like a pen. Even like having it shorter, it looks less than a pen, and then I think people might not even try to pick it.
No, but okay, so you have them floating in space here. Could you maybe have them attached to this to start like a pen holder? Not to start doing 3D modeling, obviously, but something clearly to do with this, or maybe even here.
You can refresh and see. And then what was the other thing?
The black thing. Make it yellow if you can.
But the black thing, where is that black thing coming from?
Oh, that's really weird. It goes to nothing now.
Yes, the other thing was the title. So
it's not initializing.
Yeah, everything is broken. That's why we don't fix things. Let's try anyway. Can't read what's written. It should. Yeah, just refresh until it changes its mind. Yes, the highlighter.
Yeah, it still refuses, I'm afraid.
Well, that's weird because I did not change the code. I changed the... let me check.
Yeah, I force quit Safari and I still have the same issue.
Yes, now I see what it is. No, I don't know actually. Well, I guess no more demo.
That's
Easier.
okay for now. Let's spend some minutes then on just going through this page, because this page is kind of the script, right? Peter, I could barely see your hand. I just caught it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, would it be feasible to have a virtual knob? I'm just saying for like the sitting scenario. Instead of having to turn around to look behind me at something, could we have a knob that you could grab and twist that would cause the items in the room to rotate around without my having to rotate myself? And I think that might be a little less motion sensitive issue for people too. So the room appearance would stay fixed, but the displays around you could almost create as if you were standing in the middle of a cylinder and you just have a knob controller virtually that you could twist to cause the cylinder to rotate so that you could have controls on a panel that would normally be behind you, but you could spin it back around to have them in front of you when you wanted to manipulate them. And that might even allow us to have like 4 different views at the same time. Just again, twisting a little cylinder to move the elements around the user as opposed to the user having to turn himself and look behind.
Yeah, so on that, soft space had something like that, not necessarily turning around, but you could grab and move the whole workspace. But I don't think that would actually deal with the problem you're talking about, because motion sickness often comes from motion where the body and the view is different. In this case, don't forget, the interaction is someone standing up. So when you stand up to turn around, if you see the world still, then yeah, but that's next chapters, so to speak. Fabien, I need your help here, and anybody else's opinion as well. First of all, Fabien, do you have a link for the wrist customization?
Isn't there one? Let me check. Yes.
What happens when the user has done it? How do they get back to normal?
Next demo that resets it. So the list, did you find it? Yeah. I think your microphone is rubbing on the fabric, which makes some
Sorry.
strange sound.
Oh, it's up. Hang on.
Like ASMR kind of video recording. Not sure that's what we're going for.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so I have that for now. And then we have interacting with PDF. Please see if there's anything else I should write. I'm not mentioning the little black box. That's like a bonus feature. So we do one thing per demo, otherwise it gets very text heavy, right?
I will still write down that it could be the eraser, the black box. I don't think it's a lot of work, but I'm not going to try that now.
Yeah, you just update me and I'm very super happy to put in. And then I guess we need to get to spawning the cube, right?
Yeah.
So the unfolding, should that be a separate demo or a subsection once you spawned it?
Same section.
Okay. Okay, what about attaching knowledge objects to the cube?
I think this is too abstract, to be honest, but I don't think it's worth a step.
I don't think it's abstract at all. Are we talking about the things that were in like a spine from Mark Anderson, Jason?
We're talking about the text that is stuck to the back face of the cube, which are part of list of references.
Can they be?
Right, please load it, and then we'll see if we talk about the same thing.
Oh, you want me to go in here? Okay.
It doesn't have to be in VR.
Okay. These guys.
No, those guys on the right. If you move the cube like face A, then that's going to move the text on top of it. Yeah, all those the tiny lines, basically. The one on the left, they were not stuck to the cube.
The ones on the left, are they interactive now?
You can move them, but they don't snap somewhere, or I don't think you can open a PDF from them.
What do you think, guys? These are quite cool, aren't they?
They're like floating index cards.
Yeah.
They represent files.
Yes. PDFs, as in sources.
What do you do with them?
Right now, nothing.
What's
Why?
the
You want
plan?
to do something in XR? What kind of guy are you? Yeah, no, exactly. Right now, they're just a JSON import text test thing.
What is the like plan to do with them if there is one?
To open, for example, if you look down, there is a green cube. Yeah, so this one has a downloaded and open access PDF. So that would be, if you open this, it opens as the highlights or the highlightable document, that document specifically. All the other white cubes, there are documents that are open access, but they are not downloaded yet. So you can't open them yet. And also that very step of like left pinch to open, I don't think is in there yet. So that's it's really close to it, but it's not there yet. So that's why I'm saying, is it really something that should be shown? I mean, it's if I explain it, you understand it, but it's not functional at the moment.
Can
So
you
the
guys
idea
see
is to-
Sorry, can you see XR while you're talking? My view?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the idea is to have like a cork board or a bookshelf where you put these things so that you can read them in XR and then like staple them to something to make a bibliography or something along those lines.
Yeah, so it's already a bibliography. It's already been, like, for example, exported from Zotero or whatever bibliography tool you want. And from that bibliography, then you load some of those documents, or you hide them, or you start to fill your manuscript from them.
So in this view, this is to answer, or rather address what you're saying, Carl. And telling you, Fabien, my preference for this view. What I would like to get rid of this cube and keep this separate, like two separate rooms, okay? Because one of the things that XR probably will be very useful for is some kind of spatial hypertext, some kind of a murder wall, some kind of stuff like that, right? And even though these are so small, you have to walk all the way up to read them. The fact that you can move them around is the thing everybody thinks you can do in XR. And here it's actually possible. So they get to feel it. I think we shouldn't we shouldn't discount, even though it's the most basic thing, pretty freaking cool. So Fabien, then my request is, may I have a room with these guys, no manuscript. Oh, I got highlight things suddenly come up. I mean, do you agree? Also, by the way, guys, have you noticed what happens when I pinch with my right hand to touch? The hand becomes transparent.
Yep, very good.
Oh, I have a question. On the index cards, would it be possible to scale the text or force a word wrap on it so that writing doesn't jut out past the edge of the card? That's really visually jarring.
It's not impossible, but it's tricky because, of course, then you'll have like a physics paper with a title that is like a page long, and then it's not going to work.
Peter, you have the best ideas that take a lot of effort.
What about color as a visual metaphor on those pages to say, okay, it's this kind of item or that kind of item, to speed up the sorting process? It seems like adding color to the documents would make them a little more, or giving the user the ability to simply color the documents. In other words, instead of being white, make them different colors. So you say, okay, this is part of my physics group, this is part of my biology group, or whatever, however we're using this as a workspace. That would help you with the text problem a bit, because you wouldn't have to read the text. You'd at least know at one level an ontology around that particular document.
So the metadata related to the different documents related to those items from the reference list, they are supposed to become interactive in the sense that if, for example, you have a value number, say the publication year, you could either sort by that value or you could select like a range. So it's not in there, but that's what's expected. And the colors, like one of them, the example is the cube for the document. So yes, it could be indeed be colored either the background or the text or both.
Or you could simply have a color coding box around the text, just so you can see this is a green document, a red document, a yellow document from a distance without having to read the text, right? Because the problem that Peter mentioned a minute ago was being able to get in on, I think it was Peter mentioned being able to read the text to, because it's useless gobbledygook until you zoom in on it. It's just, text is indistinguishable at that size. And so anything we can do to make that as an item distinguishable from other items, and color is one of the easier ways to do that. So
I suggest we don't do that today, because remember, today is just first quarter, lock it in for Wednesday. All we can expect, no, that's the wrong phrasing. All Fabien should do is change some variables. Anything new can make everything go haywire.
okay.
So color and legibility is super important for Thursday, Friday, and the rest of our lives, but not now. The reason I'm saying it is partly that, and the other reason is just being able to be in this XR space and move stuff is profound. The fact that they don't mean squat unless you peek in, for right now, I think I'm just thinking about the few people I'm going to show it to, but so we all agree.
I don't know your audience that you're demoing this to, so that I will. Yeah.
I don't think the audience, Tom, would be different from what you're talking about. The difference is mostly what Fabien can do in the few remaining minutes without jeopardizing. Because obviously, I completely agree that these items must have a visual, glanceable character to them. That's absolutely not for discussion. Peter, and we don't have that much more time, so please tell me something that's not going to change the entire
Okay, just a thought. Instead of having to move all the way in on the note cards, what if when we touch a note card, the text of the note card got popped onto that manuscript panel? So the manuscript panel would stay fixed at all times, and whichever note card you touch, its text would appear in a big legible spot in the fixed manuscript panel location.
Something to consider for the future. That's basically, just on Fabien's behalf, that's basically what we have to say for almost everything today. Yeah, Leon, good to see you. And that's nice. Yes, may the force be with you too. So, Fabien, where are we? What are we? Okay, let me just share my screen again in closing here. Risk assessment. Oh, risk assessment. Oh, God. Yeah, that's a dad joke. Certified. Oh, what's happening here? Yeah, someone should slap Tom's wrist. Haha. Right. Okay, so just to get past the cube thing, Fabien. Just deleting this bit. So moving the manuscript. So I think we have two more demos that we really should try to squeeze in based on what you have. One of them is the manuscript you'll be able to throw them to the different panels. You want to have that, right?
Yeah.
But what about the stuff we just looked at? All those little stacked things. Are you okay having a space mostly just for them?
Not sure I understand. What do you mean? I mean, we can put, none of them is secret anyway, so it's perfectly fine. And it's not because also we put it there that when we do a demo, for example, if the person is colorblind and we do the demo, we're not going to highlight those kind of features to that person. So we can document everything. It's not like what's on that page must be shown.
No,
of course, we can put whatever. Everything can fit in there.
Of course, but it's still the basic walkthrough is what we're still talking about, right? So we have a welcome, do this. We have a physical table. We have the wrists, including spawning, changing. Then we have the interaction with the PDF. Then we have the spawning and interaction of the cube. Now, manuscript stick to closest panels.
Just to be clear, I gotta go in 2 minutes.
Yeah, well that's what I'm concerned about. So can you, I will write it up here. Can you give me a link, please, of an environment that is basically only those reference JSONs for the little box on the side and a next demo behind, because I really do think just moving index cards in space is absolutely freaking amazing.
So you mean without the large PDF?
Exactly.
I think the Cube one does that already.
The Cube one has the large PDF.
I don't think so.
Okay. Let me do a final in and out of this. I am sharing, right? Okay.
You can just click on the link. You don't have to be in VR. You can just click on the link.
This is true. Oh, it goes away. Okay. But it has the cube, and it has unfolding cube. That's unfolding cube we don't need, I think. So it has a manuscript, a cube, and these. I would like to have one with just these, or one with just these and the manuscript. Having these three items together right now is too much, I think.
Okay. Well, it's usually easier to hide than to add stuff, so it should be fine.
All right, I think we did well today.
Well enough.
Yeah, good enough. So Fabien, will I see you before you do your demo?
Maybe. So it's Wednesday afternoon.
Because it would steady my nerves if we can have a half an hour or 1 hour session tomorrow.
I don't know if it would steady minds.
To make sure that to make sure that what we have is correct?
Yeah, the problem is that every time we discuss, like some of this has been simplified and some of it has been more stuff. So it's kind of an infinite, even if it's like ever so slightly, like just adjusting the text a bit to the left is still more. So I'm not sure if it would actually help to be upfront.
I want the page, the web page, to reflect what you are showing. That is the key thing. I want to make sure I have the right links to click on, but more importantly, that the descriptions are correct according to what you want. It would basically not be a section of me saying, oh, can you move that, please? Because I can be very annoying like that. It would be a section of, this is what I have. Make sure it's presented properly. That's what it would be.
Yeah,
Tell you
I mean,
what, this is the
we'll see some of
incitement.
the
I would
logistic
actually listen, huh? You could have a whole session of me listening to you.
I'm so glad this is on the record. So we'll see if that fits in terms of logistics.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And I really want to emphasize, particularly to Peter and Tom, the ideas that you have that are not possible right now, please write them down. You know, it's something we can discuss very, very soon. And because you don't have the headache of implementation, that means your minds are a bit more open.
Yes, you can even also, if you don't want to ask, you can sketch it, you can draw it, you can make a video, or even if you have just a timestamp within that recording for us to look back, that would already help.
So that brings me on to a topic I'm going to ask Carl about. Fabien, if you
I really got to go.
No, saying you don't need to stay. That's what I'm saying, Fabien. You don't need
Yes.
to. See you soon, Fabien, and
Bye-bye.
good luck on Wednesday.
Thank you, you too.
So, Carl, the image of the hands
Bon
that you
chance.
posted, where is that from?
I spun up a few threads on Midjourney to get wireframe hands. I iterated on a couple of those threads to get ones with the correct number of fingers. And then I pulled two of them together in Microsoft Paint because they were plain white background. Paint can, when you highlight one, treat a transparent selection of solid white as if it's not there. So I just overlaid them together and then just cropped the image and pulled it out. 5 minutes.
Interesting, because hang on, I'll show you here. And by the way, if you guys gotta go, you gotta go. I absolutely get it, but you know, this is overtime, just having a bit of fun. So I'm reading a book right now that I'm really trying to sell to all of you called A Brief History of Intelligence. It's absolutely amazing. And one of the things in, yeah, there's Edgar making coffee. It has a few nice illustrations. And for my work in whatever, I want to have the same illustrations, but I don't want to steal theirs. So I have been trying to do some AI generated things, you know, use this as the starting point. It utterly, completely messes it up every single time. It has no concept of a human brain. It has no concept of what I want from there. But this relates, and this is what I really want to talk to you about, Carl, is illustrations are very, very human, and they're often very, very different. There is no such thing currently as a typeface for illustrations. You can't have an illustration that has only lines with cut ends like a sans serif, and then an illustration that has a little bit of doodah at the end, a serif, right? So considering what you've done here is really, really good, might there be a way to properly train through the way you're doing to have a uniform illustration tool within the field?
Yeah, so the way you can train a model is by the data you give it. And if you give it specifically things of a certain art style, which is probably closer to like font or typeface that you're looking for is art style. Because certain artists or certain genres of digital or regular fine art, they have like constraints or like specific brush pen strokes that make up like how those are created. And so you can have subsets of visually how things look or what they're made up from. Like ASCII is made up of all digital only characters, and you use that as you use some mapping function to approximate the shading based on how much percentage of coverage and what direction that character faces, so on and so forth. Training a specialized model off of a generalized model like Midjourney or ChatGPT or things like that, making a specialized LoRa for like Stable Diffusion, which is the open source one, is a relatively straightforward process. The technical do-how of actually creating a LoRa is not hard. The hard part is finding a good, reliable, clean, and sizable enough data set to train that LoRa on.
What did you call it? LoRa?
Yeah, it's like LoRa, and it's got random capitalizations in it. Let me look up. What is it? The O is lowercase, the rest are uppercase. It is for low rank adaptation. It is basically you're training a specialized, basically sub niche model on top of a generic model. So you get all of the benefits of the generic model, and then you can call, in addition to the generic model's call, that LoRa with some weight, and then have that LoRa's weight influence, basically tack onto the base model stuff. A lot of people use this for creating consistent characters, like for comic books or animes or things like that. Very, very stylized line art. But if you have several hundred, pictures of a given character or photos of a specific person, you can train a LoRa that can make something that looks very similar to them, even in novel settings, poses, etc. You could very easily do the same thing with art styles, and people do make LoRa's of certain famous artists' art styles all the time. It's a point of contention in the sort of political sphere right now as to whether that is, insulting or flattering to the specific artist whose art style you're copying, ripping off, stealing, or whatever you want to phrase it as. But the tech exists, and there are ways to do it.
How difficult should we maybe, or would you like to maybe do a half an hour recorded walkthrough on how to do this?
I mean, I could make a video, but there's videos out there that basically that I learned from about the process that are probably going to explain it better than I could.
Yeah, because I saw what Tom wrote. The more abstract the idea you're trying to illustrate, at least with Dolly, the more useful the AI-generated image. I can see the logic of that, Tom, because if it's a bit diffuse in your mind, the illustration has to be something concrete, even if it's mostly wrong, and that'll help you think. I'm just wondering if maybe, because we want our community to submit more ideas, and hardly anything is ever done, and that is because drawing is hard. Even drawing with vectors is hard to do something that doesn't look ridiculous, right? Even photography, guess what? You need to have something to take a picture of. So there are all these things. And currently there's a huge anti-sentiment against AI-generated art because it looks like it is AI-generated art. I've been told off a few times over the last few months, and that's fair enough. But I'm wondering if maybe we should try to gather the right kind of training to make let's say, future of text style that everybody in the community will have access to. That is a relatively simple style, and to record how we do that and make it part of the future of text YouTube channel or something. How many images might you need to train it a little bit?
Depends on how complex or specific the thing is you're trying to emulate. How complex the shape is. Like if you're trying to do a person, I think the minimum number of images I've seen is 40. And then you're additionally constrained by, are you trying to generate portrait only, or any orientation of the very complex shape that is a person? If you're trying to make a LoRa that can draw an orange, that's going to be a lot simpler because the shapes are fairly uniform regardless of which way you rotate them, and the color is fairly uniform and not complicated. And if some of the spots are a little, weird or out of place, or the outline of the orange isn't perfectly round, that doesn't look off. The reason hands, eyes, faces, and feet are so difficult to do for Gen AI is not only are they very complex shapes, but the articulation of those joints can create thousands of permutations of that same structure. And then you rotate it in 3 dimensions and you add tens of thousands more. So it's very, very difficult for some of these models to truly to understand like the difference between a hand when it's rotated one way versus the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
don't
this,
necessarily think AI helps you a whole lot. I mean, I haven't heard in terms of computer graphics generation and things like that a lot of use of AI in this. Not yes, AI, but not in the large language model perspective because there's too much randomness introduced in that. Whereas they have very complex algorithms that allow you to take a created image and then animate it that it says, okay, if I'm move my hand this way, it's going to look like this, right? And the computer can figure that out, but that's a specific piece of software. That's not the kind of thing I would necessarily dump into a Dolly or a Midjourney or something like that because it's not really built for that. It's like asking a Ferrari to go off road. It might work, but it's not going to be a pleasant experience.
yeah, I think those are really interesting points. But if we look at the kind of things we do, these wooden puppets are probably enough, and the hand doesn't even need to be flat; it can be round, unless you're actually showing, hand controls, which is a specific subset. And also I have this software Poser,
Yeah,
which
there's also the website that I just put in the chat, Pose My Art. You can use this to spin a 3D model of whatever scale orientation you want to make a reference pose, or dozens of them. And there are certain like plugins or add-ons that you can tack on to Stable Diffusion, which is one of the free open source generative AI image generators that I've played around with. There are plugins for it called ControlNet that can take a image of a person and discretize that into a rig that you might see in like a 3D um, modeling application. And from that discretized rig, it generates based off of that. And you will get a lot better, closer results on your first few generations if you're using a pose reference and open pose than if you're just generating randomly.
yeah, Pose My Art looks good because the problem with Poser, the software, it used to be really simple and good. Now it's also a little lurid. Some of the models they have are not entirely appropriate. It's just like even the splash screen now is like the what, right? So I wouldn't want to recommend that anymore. It used to be something else. So this is a good website because I'm thinking like Peter has so many specific ideas, right? And Peter is a great use case for someone who we really want to help illustrate his ideas. So if we can do what you talked about, Carl, and then maybe, yeah, exactly, Peter, even though I have an art school thing, I'm not a very good drawer either, exactly. So if we, I mean, because I've tried imagine.art and all of those things by doing references, and they work to an extent, but let's say we want to have a system whereby the constraints are one figure, doesn't matter where the hands are, just a simple figure, but also rectangles in space. Like Peter wants to show a murder wall, or yeah, that's cool, Carl. And also, you have arrangements there and you have arrangements there. At this point, it really should be easy to do that, right? So exactly. Could you speak that for the record, please, Carl?
Oh yeah, it's really, really difficult, even when you're standing next to a person and you're holding a headset and you're getting ready to hand it to them. Explaining to somebody what they need to do once they get into VR is worse. AR is a little nicer, due to the context switching. The
Yeah.
second you put on a fully immersive headset and your view completely changes, and you're using a piece of hardware you're not used to, a piece of software you're not used to, the extreme nature of that context switch is basically going to blank your working memory unless you are really, really paying attention to holding on to stuff. So any instructions I give you, the second you put on the headset, they're gone. So there needs to be something inside the application in your view that triggers your recognition memory from what I just told you 10 seconds ago to be able to pull it back into working memory because it's not there anymore. So
Isn't that what
illustrations
they,
and diagrams really, really help to sort of help bridge that gap between visualization and me just spewing words at you that are going to get lost.
it's probably related to the doorway effect, because when you put on a headset, you're in a completely different environment. Yeah.
Yeah, the concept from psychology is called context-dependent memory.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter, the makehumancommunity.org, I don't like it. For the same reason I don't like the poser one. It's too realistic, and that carries a lot of baggage in terms of the visualness of it, but also how manipulative it is for what you really want to show. And Blender is an amazing tool as well, of course, but the overhead just to get going is quite massive. But we live in a 3D world now, don't we, guys?
I've never lived in a 3D world. I don't have binocular vision.
That's actually the same as Fabien.
Hmm.
But you still live in a 3D world in terms of bumping into things.
Yes, I know. I have the bruises to prove it.
Wow, this is actually quite good. This is very good. Wow, okay. So I want to spend time here. Have you guys clicked through on the post my art thing? Peter, I wonder especially what you think. The inverse kinematics are smooth.
Looks a lot easier than Blender and Make Human.
Yeah, this is very impressive. Very impressive. Add props. Okay, let's see. Helmets and guns. Lots of helmets and guns. Yeah, that's not a surprise. But we have a cube. So, really? Did any of you use Infinity on the Mac back in the day?
Yes, I love that one.
Yeah, I knew the developer, really nice guy. Chen, I think his name was. But I guess it just didn't make enough money for them to continue.
Yeah, that was still my all-time favorite user interface for 3D graphics.
Yeah, me too. You clicked and the right thing happened.
What's the business model for Pose My Art?
There is a subscription if you're a business user, it looks like.
So when this becomes a multi-billion-dollar effort, we'll have to pay the subscription.
Exactly. It does have some limitations, but not bad at all. Right. Okay.
All right. I think I better bail too. So I will see you guys next week.
Yeah, let me just check. Yeah, that should be all totally fine. And the next week we'll be joined by Ismail, by the way. So that'll be nice. We're having dinner together, so we're going to do the meeting together first.
Well, I'm going to be my usual 10 to 15 minutes late, but
Yeah, that's
for the next 5 weeks or so until the semester's over. Actually, the one Monday that I don't have that problem, we're not meeting. It's the Easter Monday because they closed down that day. But oh well. All right. Well, I'll see you guys.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks for today. See you guys. Bye.
Bye bye.